Hi, welcome to the music class part 2. You know, if you wanted to have somebody remember a song you wrote for girlfriend or boyfriend, it's a very important song for you, or about your family or something, you'd have to write it down. Because if you just taught it to somebody just by rote, they say, they may not remember it the way you wrote it. So you have to write it down. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about writing music and how it's done. Now remember, I told you that music evolved. It just didn't start off with what we had today. There are many schools of music throughout the history of monks or teachers or people just studying music and coming up with new ideas of how to write music. Well, I wanted to show you this. This is where we came from, and even simpler than this. This is a vellum, a piece of music written on vellum, and it's very old. The man that gave it to me said it was probably hundreds of years old. He gave it to me so I didn't have to pay for it. But you know, when I touch the music, or when I touch this, it does feel a little like an animal's skin. And have you noticed how kind of complicated it is? I know it's written in a different language, but it's kind of complicated. There's only these 4 red lines and triangles and squares, and some of them are touching and some of them are apart. Notice these things over here. What do those mean? Well, it looks gorgeous. It's a beautiful piece of work, and it's even probably an art form. But it evolved even further than that. And so now, this is where we have come to. We have come to our basic music notation that has been around for a long time, and it's called a note. It's just a simple note. Notice that it's kind of an oval shape. That's our basic note. Okay, I told you about math. Here it comes. This is a whole sheet of paper. What I'm going to do now is demonstrate fractions and how this whole sheet of paper can get pretty small by dividing it in half all the time. Now, don't be afraid of the word fractions, because fraction is nothing more than a fraction is a part of something. A part of a piece of cake, a part of a car, a part of something. And I'm just going to show you all about this. So this is a whole sheet of paper. I fold it in half. Now you can see that I have 2 halves, this side and then this side. Fortunately, a good way of demonstrating it. I could fold this half in half. There's a lot of halves. And now I could come up with 4 individual little parts. And I could show you this by unfolding the paper. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is called a fourth. I can fold this fourth in half. Now I come up with 8 little of these pieces of paper. Let's unfold it and I'll show you. Now, those words on fraction are very important because they're going to come back and help us with our notes. But you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of paper, or 8 sections. I could fold those 8s in half, and I'm only going to go this far, and I'm going to show you this. Look at how small this piece is. Well, this is called a 16th of that whole piece of paper. It takes 16 of these to equal that whole piece of paper. I'll show you. We just keep unfolding it, and then you can count the little squares that we had, that we made. 4 across the top, 4 down the side. 4 times 4 is 16. There are 16 squares to equal this one whole piece of paper. The reason why I'm talking to you about this is because that's what we're going to do with our note. This note is a real simple note. This is a whole piece of paper. This is a whole note. Well, I can cut that note in half. Just cut it right in half. And then I'll come up with 2 other notes. Now, it takes 2 of these to equal 1 of those. So this is 1 half. This is the other half of a whole note. I could still keep, like I did with my paper, folding it in half. I can still cut these in half. Now I get 2 notes for this guy, 2 notes for this guy. Oh, but we got to talk about this. That's a note, a whole note. This is a half note. It looks just like the whole note with a stem on it. But what about this? This can be confusing. Well, this is what they decided. Let's color these notes in. It's oval shaped like the whole note. It's got the stem on it like the half note, but it's colored in. Now we know that since there's 4 of these, 2 of those, that equals that one. These are called quarter notes, half notes, the whole note. I can cut these in half, just like we did the piece of paper. That's my cutting in half symbol. So then I come up with 2 more notes, oval shape, colored in, with a stem and a flag. Okay, so how many do I have to draw of this? Well, just like our sheet of paper, I'm going to have to draw 8 of them. This is where I have to keep my spatialness intact here. So now it takes 2, 4, 6, 8 of these to equal the whole note. This is a fraction. This is a part of the whole note. 2 of these will equal a quarter note. 2 of these quarter notes will equal a half note. 2 half notes equals a whole note. See, it's just basically folding everything in half. Let's do it one more time, just like we did our piece of paper. This is going to take a while. We're going to make 16th notes. A 16th note is just half of an 8th note. Notice the difference between the 8th note and the quarter note. We put a flag on it. The difference between a 16th note and an 8th note, 2 flags. Not too complicated, just subtle differences. Very subtle differences. If I can remember to keep them all even. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Uh-oh, I've run out of room. Am I getting closer? Let's check here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. How's that? So we have 16 16th notes. The reason why they're called 16th notes is because I need 16 of these to equal that whole note. Just like I needed 16 of these little squares to equal one whole sheet of paper. This is the symbol of sound. It's very simple. This is when the musician sees these, they're going to make sound. It's just that simple. They're going to make sound. This tells a musician, a piano player, a trumpet player, a singer, they have to make a noise now. And hopefully it's a pleasant noise. These are our notes. Now remember, music is opposites. We have sound and we have silence. We have high notes and low notes, long notes and short notes, fast and slow notes. We're going to get to the silence on the music class part 3. See you then.